This is Master Firefighter Guy Wheatley. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter.
Welcome to the first edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter for the year 2013. This month, Marine Team Captain Rob Darling discusses cold water marine rescue operations. Chief James Ramsey, in conjunction with the Virginia Beach Police Department's bomb squad, covers some very important safety guidelines when responding to calls dealing with explosives and the proper way to remove a bomb technician's bomb suit in emergency situations. Next, Master Firefighter Mike Callagher discusses the proper care and maintenance of ropes in this month's Tech Rescue Minute. Then, Jeff Rosenfeld joins us for another edition of Rags to Wrenches to demonstrate the proper techniques for back-flushing pumps. I'm Master Firefighter Tom Parks. Here's the host of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter, Master Firefighter Chris Stockhouse.
Thank you, Tom. And again, welcome to the very first edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter for the new year. To start things off, we head out to Company 1, where Captain Rob Darling will show us some cold water marine rescue operations gear and some important safety factors to consider when conducting these types of waterborne operations. Captain?
Thanks, Chris. I'm Captain Rob Darling of Station 1 B Shift here. One of the things we wanted to go over today is some of the exposure suits that we have at Company 1. So you might find a chance of you on relief here at Company 1 or on a callback, and due to the weather conditions we are faced with this time of season, where the water temperature is about probably 46 degrees, air temperature is 50 degrees, we work with what we call a 50-50 box, which also gives us the information what type of suits we'll wear. It's more or less a good chance for your survivability if you do end up in the water in any of the areas, whether it be Back Bay, Broad Bay, or out in Chesapeake Bay or the Atlantic Ocean. When you guys do come in Station 1 here, we will outfit you with a suit, some boots, some gloves. It'll help in your sustainability. Basically, if you end up in the water, you are 26 times more likely to have hypothermia and get it faster if you don't have any protection on.
The officer in charge must carefully weigh the urgency of each mission. Mission planning for underway operations shall include an assessment of personal survivability and risk management. This analysis shall be based on the possibility that personnel might be forced into a survival situation during any phase of the mission. All Virginia Beach personnel and passengers shall wear hypothermia protection devices in accordance with the 50-50 box. If sea and weather conditions are unknown, Virginia Beach personnel should always be prepared for the most adverse conditions by carrying extra thermal protection. Regardless of the weather, personal flotation devices shall be worn by all Virginia Beach personnel. The loss of body heat is the greatest danger to survival in open water. Critical factors that increase the threat of hypothermia include sea state, water temperature, air temperature, weather, protection from the exposures, and improper use of survival equipment. One of the greatest dangers in open water survival is hypothermia. When the human body is submerged in water, heat loss is approximately 20 times faster than it is on dry land. Being prepared at the onset of a survival situation can help minimize heat loss. Contrary to popular belief, the survivor should not swim around in an effort to keep warm. This will only increase the rate of heat loss and speed up the onset of hypothermia. Dry suits are the most effective form of protection in both rough water and calm waters. However, the barrier must be maintained between the water and the skin for the suit to remain effective. Personnel shall wear Layer 1, the fleece undergarment. This layer traps air, which will retain body heat while absorbing and transferring excessive moisture. The second layer is the outer garment. The outer garment layer should stop wind and water intrusion so the inner layers can work as designed. When worn correctly, the anti-exposure assembly will protect the Virginia Beach firefighter and add layers of insulation. Insulated boots, watch caps, thermal gloves, socks, underwear, and neoprene hoods all add additional layers of insulation. All Virginia Beach personnel shall wear hypothermia protection and survival equipment indicated in the table, which we call the 50-50 box. The table reflects the minimum required equipment. Additional protection may be worn at the crew member's discretion. Virginia Beach personnel engaged in waterborne operations operating in cold temperatures are given basic and cold weather personal protective equipment.
This concludes our training segment today for Fireboat 1. If you need more information on some of the gear that was provided today, please contact myself or Company 1, 6, or 12.
This month, from the Virginia Beach Fire Marshal's Office, Chief James Ramsey, and from the Virginia Beach Police Department bomb technician, Police Officer Donald Noah, cover some very important safety guidelines when responding to calls involving explosive devices. We will also see the proper way of removing a bomb suit in extreme emergency situations.
Okay, James Ramsey, Fire Marshal for the City of Virginia Beach. I'm here today with Special Operations bomb technicians Pete Goulart and Don Noah, and they're going to discuss emergency preparations, emergency plan to get them out of the hot zone to the warm zone in a safe way that our fire crews can assist them.
When the fire department and EMS respond to assist or stand by with the bomb squad, there are potential information lapses or gaps that need to be taken into account. If a bomb squad operation is in progress, any and all direction to additional assets should be made by the bomb squad commander. That information should be relayed through the Arson Investigations Office. The active on-scene investigator is our liaison to the fire department and EMS personnel. While on scene during bomb squad operations, the fire and EMS personnel may be some distance away from the actual scene. So the time lapse between information shared with the fire marshals or the fire investigators, it may take a minute or two to get back to the personnel that are outside the cold zone at the exterior perimeter. Should a bomb technician go downrange during operations, it's incumbent upon the fire and EMS personnel to typically restrain themselves from wanting to react. The downrange operations are hazardous. There may be live explosives. There might be the potential for secondary devices. If a technician has to be extricated, it's the responsibility of the secondary technician who's in a little lesser level protection. It's going to be his responsibility to go downrange and perform an officer rescue. Once that technician removes the primary technician to the warm zone, then a conference between the bomb squad commander and the secondary technician can occur to determine whether or not to doff the bomb suit while still in the warm zone or to leave the suit on and continue the extrication to the cold zone. Once in the cold zone, then fire and EMS personnel can be directed to patient care. The moth to the flame is what we want to avoid. If an inadvertent explosion is to occur or were to occur, it's human nature to want to go down and put the fire out. You have to keep in mind that there are potentially harmful items and things still in play in that operation, and the bomb squad commander will direct when it's safe for fire and EMS personnel to go past the cold zone. If a bomb technician were to have an incident downrange while the operation is in full progress, the firefighters and EMS personnel have to keep in mind that there are the potential for live explosives and hazardous devices that are still in existence downrange. The bomb suit that we have it's a three-piece ensemble. It has a helmet, a protective helmet, it has a jacket, and it has a spine and lower body protector portion. It also has a Nomex, what we refer to as a diaper. It's basically a flame retardant material just to cover up any gaps that may be in the lower extremities. The suit itself comes manufactured with rescue handles built into the shoulders of the suit. So if a technician were to have an event downrange, the secondary technician who's sent at the direction of the bomb squad commander to perform an officer rescue would have the opportunity to extract that bomb technician via the handles. It may be easier to move the down technician with him remaining in the suit because of the availability of the pull handles. If at the direction of the bomb squad commander, fire personnel are directed into the warm zone to assist in the officer down extraction, they need to know the location of the rescue handles on the suit, and they need to know how to doff the suit with the built-in handles that are manufactured by Med-Eng. Back to the nomenclature of the bomb suit. The bomb suit itself, the helmet will be tethered to a power supply that's in the pocket of the jacket. There are two connections on the helmet itself that can be removed very quickly. At last resort, we could recommend that fire or EMS cut the cables, but removal of those two connections should be fairly easy. Once those connections are removed, the helmet itself has got a chin strap that can be loosened with two D-rings, and that can be removed fairly quickly. The visor of the helmet itself can flip upward. There's a small green button on either side of the helmet near the wearer's ears, and you push the button and the helmet visor will flip up. The suit jacket itself is manufactured with release straps or doffing straps. One strap is in the center of the jackets towards the chest and abdomen. That pull handle is tethered to the shoulder of the bomb suit itself. All the connections that keep the bomb suit secure are Velcroed. If you pull the center strap, the strap that the Velcro that's attached to the shoulder will pull off. On each side of the bomb suit there are additional plastic pull handles. You can pull either one or both that will release the jacket from the side. The lower extremity and spine protector, they're basically overalls that have one center portion of Velcro in the abdomen area. You'll have to pull the release tab on the lower spine protector and lower extremity protector to remove that. There are zippers along the length of the pant line on the inseam. They have quick disconnects, so you don't actually have to pull the entire zipper up or down. You can just apply pressure and split the zipper itself on both legs.
Fire investigators typically run about 4 to 5 bomb threats per month. Not all these are credible, but typically when a bomb threat comes out, if it is credible or there's a known device there, that's when the fire crews will arrive on scene, and imminent things that they need to worry about is keep that 100-yard distance at minimum, and if it's a no known device, then if the occupant, the responsible party, ask about your advice as far as evacuation, we always want to recommend evacuation on no known device. It's also important that we establish a incident command early on this scene, and you want to pull in the senior police department official as a liaison, or use the fire investigator as that police liaison, so we can keep track of the accountability for the bomb techs and all going down range. As well, the reason we want to keep that 100-yard safe zone minimum is a lot of these devices are transmitted through radio transmission and may set off prematurely. Fire personnel, we do not search for devices. That's where the police department bomb techs come in. So absolutely at no time would we search for a known device or an unknown device. Our department policies that we want to concern ourselves with is the decision to evacuate for a bomb threat where there is no known device remains with the responsible party. 100 yards within the scene, turn off all electronic devices because of certain explosive devices can be actuated by radio transmission. Anytime you respond to these type situations, treat it as real, and as a real imminent danger to life and property. Take command, use the fire investigator as your police liaison, or use the senior police officer on scene as a liaison to the bomb technicians. Remember, this is going to be an active crime scene. The crime scene is secondary to the device to render that safe. Responding to these explosive devices, it's a high-risk, low-frequency event. Thank you for joining us today with Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. Any additional questions you may have, contact information is going to be on the screen. Thank you very much and have a great day.
On this edition of Tech Rescue Minute, I'm going to show you how to do a rope inspection. This year we've replaced all the rope on the 2 squads. All the ladder companies have new rope. And with that, remember we have a blue rope, a red rope, and a yellow. We're going to try to use the blue as our belay and our red as our main. You should be inspecting these ropes on a quarterly basis and after every use, okay? You don't have to do it before every use, but you want to make sure you get them done afterwards when you put it back in the bag. It's always a good idea to look at the rope and make sure that there's nothing wrong with it before you use it, but after you use it is when you want to inspect it. Your rope logs, make sure that you document when you do a rope inspection. You come in here, hey, if I just took it out and I did a small drill in the bay, come in here and inspect the rope. It only takes a couple minutes to run through this rope and put your initials down to know that you inspected it. This one here, as you can see, the core is starting to come out. What I've done is I've actually pulled the sheath back and showed you this. The core, remember, is 70 to 80% of the strength, okay? When it's hidden by the sheath, it's hard to be able to tell the condition of this core without feeling it. That's the only way you're going to be able to inspect it, okay? We don't have x-ray vision. So what you want to do is you want to start at the end of the rope is you want to start feeling. What we're looking for is anything that would be smashed, flattened out like that, and you're going to feel that in here. If this rope has taken a hard hit or went over an edge, you're going to feel it smash down like that, if you can see that right there. All right, so we're going to be feeling for that. Okay, sometimes you can roll those out. If they're really flat, you're not going to be able to roll them out. You're just going to keep going. We're going to be looking for any of these picks right here. As you can see, the blue one shows up really good on this yellow rope. You're going to be looking for any damage to that, and I'll show you in a minute what a damaged one looks like. These have little abrasions on this. Rope's pretty old, and you can see it's starting to come apart, but it's still in pretty good condition. And what we're going to do is we're just going to keep feeding the rope through, feeling, bending it, making sure it's pliable, making sure there's no stiff areas in there. If it's got a stiff area, maybe that's where it took a shock and it's permanently done. If you can't work it out, it probably needs to be replaced or be looked at by somebody with more experience. Okay, I talked about that, what you want to look for on this rope, and we talked about the picks being damaged. If you look at this rope, and I'll use my pen, and it's going to be kind of hard to see, what we'll do is we'll get a couple pictures of it. As you can see, this pick right here has some fraying in it, and you can see where it's cut right here, all right? And it's hard to tell. Sometimes we say, well, it's 50% of each one of these picks. If one of them has 50% gone, it's out of service. All right, well, it's hard to tell sometimes what's 50%. So if it has any damage like that, make sure you get it over to us here at Company 10. We can take a look at it and see if the ropes have any damage. If you're starting to get damage like this on your rope, we got to ask ourselves a couple questions. Why did that happen, and what are we doing to our ropes, okay? So that's something to look for. So that's what you're going to be looking for a visual inspection on the sheath itself. Okay, we talked about the core just a minute ago. With this rope, what we did is we went out and we did some drop tests on it, as you saw on a video before. And what happened here is we have glazing, and this is from a prusik biting down on that. All right, this rope is out of service, as you can see. So that's pretty easy to see and feel. A lot of times you'll get some dark spots on it. What a lot of that is maybe it's ran through the rack from the aluminum. So just because it's black doesn't mean it had glazing on it. It just might have some aluminum wear from your rack or something. So just keep an eye out that. Here's some extreme damage. This wasn't gone over an edge or nothing. This was just from a drop, okay? You can see the core is totally exposed. It's very easy to tell that this is out of service. Proper maintenance on the rope is after you do the inspection is if the rope is dirty, you need to wash it. But if it's not real dirty, we don't want to wash it because the more you wash it, the less strength it has, okay? So when you do wash it, if it gets muddy or something, sometimes maybe just run it through some water, okay? If water gets it off, that's fine. If you want to use a little bit of dish soap in it, you can use that to get a little bit more of the dirt off it. If it's any dirtier than that, you can throw them in one of the decon washers with no detergent just to get it in there and it'll run through. And then you want to hang dry it out of the sun. You don't want to leave it in the sun because that'll deteriorate the fibers on the rope. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you keep these ropes in your bags and on the trucks in the compartment with the compartment closed, okay? The bags will keep some of the UV light out, but you don't want to have that compartment open and laying out in the sun. When you're out on a rope rescue call, keep them in the bag, much as the rope in the bag as you can. You don't want to have it all laid out in the sun. It really eats the rope apart, so you don't want to do that. With this edition of Tech Rescue Minute, I'm Master Firefighter Mike Callagher. If you have any questions, please give me a call.
Finally, on Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter, Master Firefighter Jeff Rosenfeld will go over the proper techniques for back flushing pumps. Jeff?
Thanks, Chris. Today we're going to talk about back flushing the truck. There's been a lot of misconceptions over the years about how to do it, so we're going to go over it today and try to clear those things up and come up with a few pointers to do it a little better. For years, a lot of people wanted to use the deck gun as their point to start back flushing the truck. It's okay to use it, but we recommend using just a normal discharge either on the back of the truck or either side. It doesn't matter what you use, just try to use a different one each time you back flush the truck, so it just gets it from a different angle. The reason we really don't prefer to use the deck gun is the weight of the hose up on the gears of that deck gun pulling down on it is not good for the pins and the gears in that gun. And it also just prevents another injury from getting up and down the truck when your feet are wet and the slippery surfaces. Once you have your water supply established in the discharge of your choice, then you want to take the caps off the pump panel, off of all the discharges, and have the deck gun pointed in a safe spot. Send water out each discharge one at a time, and while water's flowing, you want to make sure you have each individual drain opened up, so the sediment also has a place to go outside to the atmosphere through the drains. Another drain that we want to open before we open anything else is the main pump drain. This drain needs to be operated when there's no pressure on the pump. Go ahead and open it, pull it with the cable, open it, go ahead and flush the pump, the additional sediment will go out. Once you're through flushing the truck and there's no pressure on the pump, then push that cable operated valve back in. It's very critical that this valve be opened and closed with no pressure on the pump. Once you've completed flushing out the discharge side of the pump, now we're going to go to the intake side of the pump. And one of the most important things to remember when we go to a 2.5 or any intake, once we take the plug out, we want to make sure the screen's in there, so we had safety. But we're also, now that we're flushing, we're going to pull the gasket out and take the strainer out. We're going to keep those in our pocket while we flush this intake. If you leave that screen in there in the gasket, once the water starts flowing, it flushes the screen out, and then we lose it when we go and put the truck back together. Here is evidence of one that got flushed out. The people didn't know it, and then the truck ran over it. So that wasn't doing us very much good. Okay. Once we're done, we take the basket with the concave pointed out, and you can see a little ridge inside this fitting here. We'll take the screen, set it in there. You'll feel it snap. Once that's in there, then we'll work the 2.5-inch gasket back inside. Take the tool, make sure it's seated, and then we'll put the plug back in the cap. You also want to take the 6-inch cap off both sides and the front suction. All three should have a 6-inch strainer in there just like this. When we're flushing, we want to make sure it comes out. Flush the truck. We'll inspect the strainer to make sure all the vanes are in place. Make sure it's good to go and put it back in place. If this strainer is bad, it starts corroding. It is made to corrode and wear away. If that happens, just call the pump shop and they have spares down there for us. After flushing the 6-inch intakes, take a moment with a flashlight to look inside. You'll see bolted on the intake side of the pump there, a zinc anode. That is there to protect the metal of the pump. It's made to wear away in time. There's one on each side. Both 6-inch manifolds have the zinc bolted to it. Take note of it. We haven't had to be replacing them, but if there's a problem with them, include that in the work order next time the truck goes to the garage. After back flushing the pump and make sure there's all clean water and all the sediments out of the pump and front suction piping, your strainers are back in, then we're going to go here and flush the tank drain. Reach over, open up the valve, let it flow. Go ahead and empty the whole tank out. You'll notice the sediment comes out. Refill the tank, about a quarter tank. Do it again. If sediment keeps coming out, keep flushing the tank. If it's clean, then just go ahead and close it, refill the tank, and you're done with that. I'd like to really emphasize the importance of making sure the strainers are in the intakes and also in the intakes correctly. As you can see from these pictures, one, the 6-inch intake It did its job by catching this fish. And the 2.5-inch intake, as you can see with this hitch pin actually came out of engine 10's 2.5 suction. It was a good thing that that strainer was in there that caught that, or there'd been major damage to their pump. I hope you picked up some pointers today. If you have any questions, please contact me at Company 21A Shift. Back to you, Chris.
Well, that's it for this month's edition of Virginia Beach Frontline Firefighter. We certainly hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have any suggestions, comments, or story ideas, please feel free to send them to us at vbfdtv@vbgov.com or email Kirk Kellerhalls at the address below on your screen. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I am your host, Master Firefighter Chris Stockhouse, saying stay motivated, and I'll tell you why next program.